Welcome to the EPG Pathshala. This module is on early marriages in India, historical perspective. This is part of the Women's Studies course on women and history. In this module, we are going to look at the historical background of early marriages in India. Today, if we look at it, nearly 50% of the girls are married before they attain the legal age of 18 years. In fact, in the United Nations list, India stands fourth in this regard, and it has a tie-up with Bangladesh. It is Niger which heads this list, with 76% of the marriages taking place before girls attain the age of 18. Now, we have to really worry about girls getting married early, because early marriage becomes a big impediment for creation of a gender-just society where women are empowered. There is a very close relationship between early age at marriage and the empowerment of women, because it leads to a gap in health, mental status, awareness, education, and occupation of both bride and bridegroom. However, this is an issue which has not attracted enough attention of policymakers, as marriage is still regarded as a private affair. So therefore, we are going to look back into history and see, what is the status of marriage, at what age were girls married earlier. Now, the Vedic mantras in the Rig Veda clearly mention that the girl could be married only when she is fully developed, both physically and mentally. One of the hymns mentions that the girl has to be married when she is not a child. In fact, Altekar also argues that girls were married at a fairly advanced age in the Vedic period. The term for marriage, udvaha, carrying away the bride, presupposes a post-puberty marriage. A marriage hymn shows that the bride was fully matured and quite grown up at the time of marriage. A hope is expressed that the bride would forthwith take over the reins of the household from the parents-in-law. We also find a concept of Swayamvar in the epics, when the bridegrooms collect at the house of the bride and she chooses the one whom she likes. So obviously this also means that the girls were fairly mature enough so that they could take a decision as to whom they would marry. The text mentioned Gandharva Vivah, that is love marriage, Ashur Vivah, marriage by abduction, but Bal Vivah or child marriage is something which is not found in these texts. It is from 4th century BC that we find that the early marriages of girls began to be advocated. The writers of Dharma Sutras, who flourished from 400 BC to 100 AD, began to advise that the marriage of girl should not be delayed after puberty. This is a period of the breakdown of the tribal society of the Vedic period, and a large-scale stratification was taking place. Two of the writers, Vashisht and Budhyana, recommend that the girls must not be kept unmarried for a period of 3 years after puberty, and Manu and Kautilya concur with them. It is probably from 200 AD that pre-puberty marriages became the order of the day, and many treatises advocated this. This is a period of war between Indo-Greeks, Parthians, resulting in dislocation of society. Spread of agriculture meant women becoming like properties and commodities. It is said in the Vikanasa Sutra that a Brahmin should marry a girl who is Nagnika or a Gauri. The Nagnika is one who is over 8 years but below 12, and Gauri is one who is between 10 and 12 and has not had a menstrual periods. Yajnavalkya insisted that a girl should be married before the age of puberty. Otherwise, every month their guardians will be guilty of the destruction of embryo. However, these texts were only normative, and this does not seem to have been followed strictly, because it is said that a maiden may rather stay in her father's house even till she attains puberty, but the father should never give her to one who is devoid of good qualities. So, though these texts were advocating pre-puberty marriages, we are not sure how this was being followed. The Smriti writers of the period 500 to 1000 AD began to encourage marriages much before puberty. It was generally regarded that a girl attained puberty around 10 years of age, and hence the girl has to be married before she attains 10 years. So therefore, the system of early marriages was well entrenched before Islam was established in India during medieval period. Many writers writing during the communal phase of history writing in the 19th century blamed the Muslim for this. We have a lot of accounts which say because of the war, the arson, the loot and plunder, the safety of girls became a big issue during medieval times, and therefore these girls were married early. But, we find that this system is already in place before the Islamic people come into India. This cannot be denied. For the turbulent environment of the Middle Ages, when law and order was not a universal phenomena, must have given some kind of an impetus to the system. In any situation of war, arson, plunder, it is the women who are at receiving end. And the parents felt that their burdens were lightened and their responsibility is over once the daughter was handed over to the bridegroom, and he was the one who would worry about the security of his wife. More as a result of the ideology of the patriarchal society, where women are seen to be the property that belonged to someone else, her family, her husband, her in-laws. Women and girls are seen as burden to be traded off and used in any way that the others see it fit. Trevanier says that Hindu marry their daughters very early and make them cohabit much sooner. In fact, in many places, Trevanier remarks that marriages are celebrated at the age of 4, 5 and 6, and the husband is 10 years old and the wife is 8. Manucci also remarks that the daughters are married even before they have learned to talk. Early marriages of the girls, according to these travelers, led to a lot of health problems. There would be numerous children, and women who had children so young soon leave off childbearing and they became wrinkled. So we have a lot of references from these travelers who talk about how early marriage was the established norm. When Akbar came to the throne, he abhorred early marriages taking place between a man and a girl and a boy before the girl attained the age of puberty. And he formulated several regulations in order to save the girls. He felt that marriage did not bring forth any fruit, and when the couple ripen into manhood and womanhood, they dislike having connection and their home becomes desolate. Badauni also remarks that Akbar forbade the marriages of girls before 14 and boys before 16 years of age. Akbar appointed an officer called Tai Beg in order to investigate into the conditions of the bride and bridegroom and their actual ages. So he was very serious and saying that, girls did not get married before puberty. By the time we come to 19th century, we find that early marriage has become a norm and it is well established in our society. Ramakrishna Paramhans married a girl of 6, M.G. Ranade a girl of 8, D.K. Karve a girl of 9. By this time, marriages after puberty had become inconceivable, and pre-puberty marriage had degenerated into infant marriage. So, you find the age of the girls becoming more and more less. So, by the time of 19th century, we have lot of instances of young girls, as old as 2 and 3 getting married. And this became a very important issue because many of these girls would become widows. And the social reform movement took up this as one of the very important agendas of reform. Now, both Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, they took up a lot of pioneering work against child marriage because they could see the kind of problems women had to face when they were leading very wretched lives by becoming widows. Ishwarchand Vidyasagar formulated a pledge to which he committed himself and which he expected his supporters and admirers also to implement. According to this, he would not allow his son to be married before he was 18 and the daughter before she was 11. As a result of a lot of discussion, the Law Commission was persuaded to make intercourse between husband and wife below a given age an offence. The Indian Penal Code of 1860 declared consummation when the wife was below 10 years of age as rape and prescribed punishment extending to transportation for life. The legislation was very ineffective due to the cultural and social ethos of the society, where women, especially married women, became a property of the husband. So, when the social system was so well entrenched, law could not really make a change in such a situation. It was again in 1818 that the public debate on the age of consent took place. Infant marriages were a norm by this time. While the debate on this bill was taking place, there was a very interesting incident which occurred. And a child wife of 11 years named Phulmani died when her husband raped her. More than 500 women doctors then sent a memorandum to the Viceroy requesting him to stop marriages of girls below 14 years of age. This resulted in the bill, and the bill compromised this at 12 years. This was followed by the Mysore government attempting in 1894 to prevent the marriages of the girl before she was 9. And an Early Marriage Prevention Act of Baroda in 1904 laid down 12 as the minimum age of marriage. On August 15, 1984, a Parsi reformer, Behramji Malabari, circulated 2 notes which highlighted the evils of early marriage and enforced widowhood. According to these notes, Malabari claimed that no Shastras enforce marriage on a girl under 12 years of age, when presumably the boy must be between 15 and 20. The Honorable J. Gibbs added that young mothers become stunted in growth and often become invalid for life, while children were too often puny and weak. Kedhav Das added to the list of evils by stating that early marriage is a great obstacle in the path of female education. See, many of these reformers then linked up early marriage to education, because once the girl was married early, she was withdrawn from education and she went into parda, and she was not, she didn't have access to the public sphere. So this was one of the major issues why so many women were illiterate. Now, as a result of all these efforts, we find that in 20th century, there were a lot of legislation that came up. The Child Marriage Restraint Act in 1929 defined a child as a person who had not yet completed 21 years of age, if it is a boy, and a girl if she is less than 18 years of age. If the marriage takes place less than this age, then for the boy, a simple imprisonment of 15 days and a fine of 1,000 rupees is fixed. For the parents, the act fixes the punishment of 3 months. So, this was the legislation which was brought out for the first time. Now, when we look at the situation today, it is very difficult to fight an ideology only through law. By and large, girls are seen as chattel to be disposed of. A girl is regarded as a sojourner in her natal family to be sent away to her permanent home, that is her in-laws' family. She is a burden in her own family. Her birth does not bring any happiness, and only she is an extra mouth to be fed and money to be spent on dowry. Her only role in life is to do housework and bear children. In societies such as India, where reproduction is primarily confined within marriage, the change in marriage age and the resultant reduction in proportion of women remaining in married state are directly linked to fertility. Raising of female age at marriage has therefore been recognized as one of the very important policy intervention that might be able to influence population growth. Again, in 1978, we had the Child Marriage Restraint Act, which was laid down, and the minimum age of marriage for females is 18. Even today, the mean age at marriage continues to remain much below this legally prescribed age. Though 18 is the legal age, yet, we find that all over India, in many states, girls much young than 18 are being married off. We need to deal effectively with this most urgent task of slowing down India's population growth rate as well as to achieve socio-economic upliftment of women. In fact, there are statistics which show that 1 in every 3 girls in developing countries are married before they attain the age of 18. The data on the age of marriage is derived from the marriage registration records. However, in the absence of adequate data on this aspect in India, information on age, sex, and marital distribution obtained from census has been used for the study of nuptiality. The data of the National Family Health Survey, NFHS, which was conducted in India during 92-93 and covered 24 states, has become a very important source for the study of change in nuptiality pattern among the states and on India on a comparable basis. In fact, in 1961, the cingulate mean age at marriage for females was 15.7 in rural areas and 17.9 in urban areas. By the time we come to 1992-93, this increased only slightly with the mean age at marriage for females being 19.3 in the rural areas and 21.5 in the urban areas. So there has really not been much change. We therefore need to really look upon this issue very seriously and encourage late marriages, because early marriages spell a cessation of education for girls and a premature assumption of domestic and childcare responsibility. It is very important to investigate the role of various socio-economic and cultural factors such as education, occupational activities, role of women, economic independence, family structure, marriage norms and customs, looking at ethnicity, economic hardship, unemployment, migration, or the nuptiality changes, so that we can make suitable social intervention. Now, population policies also aim at reducing fertility, and this should be considered as a very important element when we talk of fertility change. Therefore, it becomes very important that we look at this whole issue of early marriage. We can never dream of having a gender-just society where women are empowered. Early marriage leads to a lot of domestic violence as women have no control over their lives. The delay in marriage takes place due to the role of modernizing factor such as growing urbanization, increasing educational attainment and employment opportunities for female. Laws are not enough. We have seen through the whole module, if you look back into history, there has been a long history of how, girls were married before puberty and how this continued. By the time we come to 19th century, the situation really becomes very bad. And though we had a large number of laws after this to deal with these issues, but laws are just not enough. And what we need is to change the whole ideology. And the first step has to come from the girls who are being affected. And unless the girls take up and delay their marriage, they have other ambitions, whatever kind of historical background we have of early marriages, it will continue in the same way. And therefore, girls need to come forward and say no to early marriage. Therefore, if we look back into history, we find that the earlier period we did not have early child marriages, but it was probably from 200 AD that pre-puberty marriages became the order of the day, and you had a large number of treatises that advocated these. And by the time you have the Smriti writers and others, the early marriage becomes a norm, and many of the girls are married before they reach puberty. By the time we come to medieval period, we find that though it is not because of the coming of Muslims that early marriages take place. They were already well established in India by this time. But then we had, in any environment of arson, loot, violence, parents find it secure if the girls get married. So most probably the girls must have been married early. We do have examples of an emperor like Akbar who really abhorred these marriages. He brought in a large number of reforms, and he wanted the girls to be married only after they reach puberty. Again, if we look in the colonial period, this becomes a very important issue in the social reform movement because it is linked to the education of girls and widowhood. Many of the social reformers were, worried about this issue because they found in society a vast difference between the age of the girls and the men they were marrying. And obviously, since the men were more mature, they were old, they would die early. And we had large number of widows who were treated very harshly by society. In fact, we have large number of widows who were as young as 2 years old, 3 years old. So, many of the social reformers, whether it is the Brahmo Samaj, the Arya Samaj, they took up a lot of pioneering work against child marriage because they felt that, many of these young girls were becoming widows and they were leading very wretched lives. Ishwarchand Vidyasagar went a step further and he wanted all his supporters to take a pledge that they would marry their son only when they are 18 years old, and the girls would be married at not before they are 10 years old. So, if you look at it in the post-colonial period, in the modern period, we had a large number of laws which came up. The Indian Penal Code of 1860, this was again, there was a lot of debate on the age of consent bill. And then we find that the Indian government took up a large number of reforms to deal with the whole issue of early marriage. And it brought out a law saying that the girls cannot be married before they are 18 and the boys before they are 21. But then there is a lot of gap between what is there in theory and what is in practice. Many of the states in India still continue to see a large number of child marriages, early marriages taking place, whether it is Bihar, Haryana, UP, even Telangana for that matter, Andhra. A large number of girls are getting married. In fact, early marriage is prevalent in a large number of countries around the world, not only in India, even if you look at it in many parts of Africa, parts of Latin America, many of the girls are married at a much earlier age. And therefore, one cannot just fight the ideology through law. We have to make the girl more empowered. Girls have to play a major role in stating, have a choice in their marriage so that there are more opportunities open for women and they are more in control of their lives. Thank you.